Hello everyone, David Lang here with my weekly Fireside Chat. Hope you're all doing okay. And today I want to talk a little bit about Cobra Kai and then kind of bring it, the connection with that and the lessons I've learned from that show to something I've been dealing with on my blog this week. Now, Cobra Kai is a show on Netflix for those who are living under a rock. I'm sure most of you, by the way, are watching Netflix during these really hard times. Netflix must be very, very profitable these days, even more so than normal. And Cobra Kai is basically a sequel of sorts to the Karate Kid franchise. Hands up if you are a Karate Kid fan. Having grown up in the 80s, I'm a huge Karate Kid fan. Karate Kid #1 was definitely the best. I liked Karate Kid 2, although I was a bit disturbed that Daniel had moved on so quickly from his girlfriend in #1. And #3 I actually don't remember ever watching. I might have watched it, but it must have been pretty bad if I don't actually remember it. So yeah, feel free to comment and let me know if you've seen the Karate Kid. Cobra Kai is a series that takes place over 30 years. Thank you, Beat. So it takes place over 30 years after that 1984 movie. And basically, in the movie, you had Daniel's son, who was sort of like the good guy. He wore the white. And in the final match, he went against Johnny, and Johnny is like the bad guy, and he even wore black. He's the Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai, their motto was something along the lines of strike first, strike hard, show no mercy. So it was very black and white in its depiction of good and bad, and even in the uniforms. So it's sort of very monolithic in that way. One of the things I love about Cobra Kai is the fact that it kind of turns things on its head. Things are much grayer. Daniel, the hero of that franchise, he's now a very successful guy. He runs like some car dealerships, and he's exhibiting some sort of arrogant, dare I say, jerky behavior. On the other hand, you have Johnny, who was the villain of the franchise, and Johnny in Cobra Kai, he's a complex character as well. You see, he's not the archetypal evil or bad guy. You know, he's been down on his luck since he lost that fight in Karate Kid in 1984, and his life has really taken a turn for the worse. And you really feel empathy towards him. It's one of the great things about this series. You really feel a lot, I at least feel, and I think a lot of you, and please leave comments if you're watching Cobra Kai, you feel for Johnny, and in a way you're kind of rooting for him. But you're kind of rooting for him, but he runs a dojo now of his own students, and Danny LaRusso, he runs a dojo, Miyagi-Do, for his students. And at least in my experience, I'm sort of not rooting for one or the other. It's sort of oscillating. And that's one of the brilliant things about this series, that both these people, it's not good and bad, it's sort of like they're complex characters. Danny, who was the good guy of the Karate Kid series, showing some traits which aren't so great. And Johnny also still showing who was the villain of the first series, showing some traits that aren't so great, but he shows some great things as well. And you also just feel for him because he's like the underdog in this series. And so that's one of the big takeaways I get from Cobra Kai, is the fact that good versus evil, good versus bad isn't so simple as black and white, as tended to be depicted in the olden days. The olden days being the 80s. Yeah, I'm pretty old. So I kind of wanted to use that analogy to now go into a topic which I've been dealing with on my website. Those who have been following will know about the guy Yasir Assad. He's a Palestinian. He's from a Palestinian family. He lives in Brooklyn. And he's the guy that posted on TikTok a video how he took a kippah off a Jewish guy's head and he was going to wipe his tuchus. He didn't use the word tuchus, but I'm trying to keep this PG-13. He was going to wipe his tuchus with it. So he posted this really anti-Semitic video, and he basically admitted to an assault on a Jewish guy. And this went viral for all the wrong reasons from his point of view. And I've written a lot about it and condemning it, but it turns out that it's an interesting story because he was working in a pizzeria called Brooklyn Home Slice, and it seemed to be owned by his brother. We'll get to that in a minute, whether or not it's just owned by his brother, whether or not he's a partner in that. And so there were many pro-Israel advocates or Israel advocates rather, who were promoting a boycott of that business. And I was one of the people that was saying, no, we shouldn't boycott that business. By the way, it's not a kosher pizza shop, so if you're a religious Jew, you shouldn't be going there anyway. But, if you're not a religious Jew, I'm not going to tell you whether you should be kosher or not. I'm just saying, in principle, I was against the boycott by Jewish people because, and here was the thing, and this is where I'm talking about, things aren't so black and white. So Fareed is the brother that owns the pizzeria, at least publicly. And he has a history of good relationships with the Jewish community. There was a news story, he owned another restaurant called Zaytoons, which after 9/11, and by the way, today is the anniversary of 9/11, so it's very topical. He got a lot of flack from people because he's a Muslim, etc., etc. And he was saying in his news story, which made the mainstream media, how the Jewish community, or there were people in the Jewish community that actually stuck up for him, and how he thought they were beautiful people. And he says on the record as having a good relationship with Jewish people. He's part of, or at least was part of, he still might be, an interfaith dialogue group and groups. So, he's at least publicly, let's say, has good relationship with the Jewish community. Now, me and some others uncovered on his Facebook page, Fareed, I'm talking about the owner now, not Yazid, the guy who posted the anti-Semitic TikTok video. About 5 years ago or something, it was like a Rothschild-related conspiracy meme. Didn't mention the word Jews, but I would have to think that he's not stupid, and maybe, it's a dog whistle at the very least, and he shouldn't have posted that. Okay, that's anti-Semitic. But he doesn't have like a extensive record in posting anti-Semitism on social media like all these other people that I out and that I attack. And even his brother, I would say, is different, because his brother, Yazid, what did he do? After his TikTok video went viral and he was castigated, and then some people were saying that they were going to boycott his brother's business, he doubled down. His first video, or one of his first videos after that disgusting video he posted on TikTok, was saying, I'm not going to apologize. He said, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done it, which isn't quite an apology. Maybe it's a regret. And then he said, why are Jews so sensitive? They, I forget his exact wording, but he was basically saying that we cry out anti-Semitism anytime anything goes wrong. He was basically, trivializing anti-Semitism. So it seems like he was doubling down on his anti-Semitic video. Now, it turns out that, let's now go to Fareed. Fareed, the Brooklyn home slice pizza owner, he says that his brother was working for him. Okay, we'll get into a minute. But what did he do after this? He didn't make excuses for his brother. He condemned him. He called him an idiot. He called him an idiot on Yelp when some Israel advocates were posting bad reviews. I wouldn't do that. As I mentioned, I'm against that in this case. And he basically, he threw his brother under the bus. So I look at it again. I'm looking at this in the context of this whole issue of things aren't always so black and white. Yes, Fareed, the owner of the pizzeria, he posted once this anti-Semitic meme. He's definitely anti-Israel, no question. They come from a Palestinian family. And what we have to also realize there is that although I think in most cases people who are anti-Israel are anti-Semitic, people that come from Palestinian Arab families, right? Just imagine that your father or your mother that came from what was then called Palestine, British Mandate Palestine, which then became Israel, the modern state of Israel. They've been fed lies, or they've been fed stories, let's say, by their parents. Mum or dad will be saying, or their grandparents will be saying, we were kicked out of our homes and these Zionists came and they kicked us out and they showed no mercy. Now, I'm sure that's not true because there were so many people that fled. It was a war. Yes, there were some people that were kicked out, but it was a war of the Jews of the time were facing extinction. All these Arab armies were coming to attack. So in some cases, things happen in war. So yes, there were some Palestinian Arabs who were expelled, but many left on their own volition. They were told by the Arab armies that come back after we win, and all the odds were in their favor. Some just got scared and ran on their own accord. It's not black and white. That's the point. So again, you look at someone like Fareed, and maybe he grew up on those stories, and yes, he's very anti-Israel. Is he an out-and-out anti-Semite? I don't believe so. It's a bit of a grey area. Again, he once posted this anti-Semitic meme, but maybe he didn't know it was full-on anti-Semitism. Even if he did, he doesn't have a track record in doing it all the time. And he spoke out clearly against his brother. He didn't just say, I condemn it. He called him an idiot. He was really angry at him. Now, some of you out there who are questioning my views on this would say, well, listen, this was just a PR thing. He's scared of losing business. Maybe that is the case, but are you God? Am I God? Can we look into someone's heart? It's not always black and white. Not only that, but as I keep saying to you guys, sometimes it's better, it's my motto, just like Cobra Kai have their motto, strike hard, strike first, show no mercy. My motto is it's better to be smart than right. Even if you think you're right, look at the optics. A bunch of Jewish people or Zionists are trying to take down this poor business owner who works hard. And by the way, Fareed is very patriotic. He has big problems with Israel, but he's a very patriotic American. It just wouldn't look good, and not everyone's going to know all the nuances of once that he posted an anti-Semitic post. So when I weigh everything up, the right call here, in my opinion, was not to call for a boycott of his business on account of his brother's anti-Semitism. Now, I should also point out that whole family on social media have a history of posting anti-Semitic stuff, not just anti-Israel stuff. But not Fareed. Fareed did that one post. And some of the other brothers did. One called Ibn, I think. It's probably an alias. He apologized for past posts. There's another brother that I wrote about yesterday. I haven't seen an apology, but he also has a lot of anti-Semitism. So don't get me wrong, I'm not naive. This family has been brought up on hatred of Israel for sure. Some of it has extended into anti-Semitism. In the case of Fareed, who owns the pizzeria, maybe with or without his other brother who seems to be anti-Semitic, Yazid, who posted the video, for all the reasons I've just described, I wouldn't go full-on boycott with him. But what I did do in my post was ask him to please apologize for that one post that he did in 2015, okay? To condemn the anti-Semitism, the anti-Semitic posts in his family, and to fight against anti-Semitism. So I'm putting the ball in his court. Now, I've said to my audience, my readers, if you want to boycott, who are not kosher, of course, if you want to boycott the pizzeria, that's up to you, but I'm not going to officially do that. And again, I think I've explained myself why I wouldn't do it. But in the case of Yazid, he was just recently hosted on a radio program by a guy called Heshi or Howard Tishler, which I was against because it gave him a platform. It was just a bit too convenient. Okay, he apologized, but you could tell I don't think he's being sincere. Okay, because if you look again at the reactions after he posted the TikTok video, there was still more anti-Semitism going on. And in the comments on a Facebook page which was talking about, or let's say introducing that upcoming radio show, he also showed some more anti-Semitism. Someone brought up a tweet of his in the past which was really anti-Semitic, and he just sort of put a laughing emoji to it. He didn't say, listen, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. So again, things aren't always black and white, folks. Okay, and again, I'm a person that fights anti-Semitism online as hard as it gets. I'm Cobra Kai in many, many ways, except for the show no mercy part. Because the biggest muscle in the body is this, and you have to use your brain. And yeah, you can just say, listen, I'm going to fight anti-Semitism, and the minute someone posts one anti-Semitic thing, we should go all out attack and just pile up on them. It doesn't work that way. That's not smart. I don't think that's the right approach. Things aren't always black and white. You have to look at the situation, look at the overall context, and say, listen, in this particular case, there is maybe hope. In Fareed's case, Fareed Assad's case, I believe that not only is it's smarter from the point of view of the optics, but also by showing more compassion towards him, he'll want to work towards fighting anti-Semitism more. I believe that. And again, I can be wrong in everything that I'm saying, and the end result could be wrong. But I just wanted to explain to you guys why I wasn't gung-ho or even supporting in the slightest any sort of boycott of this guy's business. One final point. It could turn out that Yazid, the anti-Semitic guy with the TikTok video, I know the names can get a bit confusing at times. He might not just have worked there. Fareed might not have actually fired him. He might have just said, listen, don't work anymore. They might actually be business partners. I'm looking into that. Even if Yazid is a business partner, everything still applies what I said. That his brother Fareed should, and both of them actually, or should at least force Yazid to basically condemn anti-Semitism fully. Okay, maybe I even suggested to donate to a Jewish charity. There's a Chabad center that is right near the pizza store. They could donate there. So again, things aren't always so black and white. Now, in many cases with the anti-Semites that I expose online, they are more black and white. Take Angelo John Gage, who I've spoken about on many previous Fireside Chats and videos on here. This guy is white nationalist neo-Nazi. He's not changing. Just this week, he tweeted a picture of a guy at some sort of rally, and the guy, his point was the guy looks Jewish, whatever that means, but you understand the point that this, this guy had a sort of look. And this Angelo John Gage said every single time, he tweeted every single time, and he was basically making fun of the way the guy looked, and he's basically suggesting that all Jews look this way. And he said something along the lines of their inner moral depravity sort of reflects on their outside. He was saying that this guy's ugly, and he's ugly because he's morally ugly. All Jews are ugly. Okay, that's the sort of anti-Semitism where I'm more Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, show no mercy. Someone like Angelo John Gage, a white nationalist. By the way, there are people on the left who are like that, not just on the right. But when they're just pushing hatred of Jews all the time. They seem beyond the pale. That's when I'm going to go hard. That's when I'm going Cobra Kai. But in this particular case, I'm maybe more Miyagi-Do. I'm more on Mr. Miyagi's philosophy, where you do show mercy. By the way, in Cobra Kai, one of the other interesting things was Johnny, who restarted the Cobra Kai dojo. He actually said in the show that, you know what, he doesn't agree with the show no mercy philosophy that was of the past. And another interesting thing about the show, before I wrap up, is that there's a character called Kreese, and he basically, I don't want to give any spoilers, but he was the Cobra Kai head. He was the sensei. And he makes an appearance again in this. And he's still about all showing no mercy, even though Johnny is, no, we should show mercy. And another thing that shows that things aren't always black and white and so simple is the actor that plays John Kreese, and he's like such a villain in the show, he's a Jewish guy called Martin Kove. And Martin Kove is a proud Jew in real life. And he actually had he had an interview, and I posted this on my private Facebook page with a Chabad rabbi, and he was talking about how proud he is and, what he does on Shabbat. And it just goes to show you that, things aren't always so black and white again. That's the theme. And I tie it into everything that I've just spoken about because, of course, right near the Brooklyn Home Slice Pizzeria, as I mentioned before, you have this Chabad center. So everything sort of ties in nicely with Cobra Kai. All right, that's what I had to say today. As usual, I really want to hear, your points of view. I don't see myself as someone that lectures and that has to be right and you're wrong. The topics that I bring up are usually, again, not so black and white. So just like maybe you might learn something from what I'm saying, or it might give you food for thought. I look at it exactly the same way with your comments. You might give me some food for thought as well. But I just wanted to basically, one, talk about Cobra Kai because, oh man, what a great show. And two, tie it into another topic that I've been dealing with this week, and I got a lot of comments about and questions regarding why I had a certain point of view. All right, everyone, that's it for this week. Hopefully I will speak to you next week, right before Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. In the meantime, Shabbat Shalom, and have a great weekend.